happens if everything changes. When up becomes down and cold becomes hot. When the dystopian future you fear appears right before your very eyes. The Shift by StoryMan-Jack. Jason stood next to the scientist, his recorder going. It is a simple change from the last time we used the collider, the scientist said. What would you say to those who say you're playing with fire, that you're trying to be God? Jason asked the balding man. Dr. Andrew Stein scoffed. Young man, I believe the reason for science is to help us better understand how that very God did the things he did, how he created everything around us. I believe science is in fact sanctified by this God. Jason glanced down at his watch. How long, Doctor? Any moment, the scientist replied, his eyes on the monitors. He murmured a moment later. Here we go. And then the power went out, suddenly and resounding with a loud crack. Everything went black, and Jason felt himself falling. And then, nothing. Jason Strong started awake with his phone's alarm, and he was in his own bed. I don't even remember coming home, the thought occurred to him. The sounds and feel of his home were the same as it always been. Maybe I just need some coffee. He went to his closet and put on a set of sweats. Caffeine, he murmured, and he made his way down to the corner coffee shop. On the way, he didn't notice anything different with billboards and such, though if he'd have looked close, he would have seen a major change. There were no political ads. There were no things, but there were numbers posted above every shop window. He shook his head. Perhaps jet lag was finally getting to me, he said to himself as he went on down the road. He felt something on his right when he entered the little coffee shop, but couldn't put it. He sensed that something wasn't right when he entered the little coffee shop, but couldn't put his finger just on what it was. He took a while before he got to the cashier, for the line was very long, and then he ordered. Large quad cappuccino, he said. The young lady standing behind the register smiled and asked absentmindedly, Your watch, please? Jason was confused. He looked at her name tag. Marie, I don't quite see what my watch has to do with anything. She rolled her eyes. Look, pal, I need your social score. She shook her head. You can't get nothing here unless you have an 8.9 or higher. What in God's name are you talking about? Jason demanded. Aren't we in America anymore? I need a social score to buy coffee? Marie's eyes grew wide in what? Fear? You're one of them, she demanded, and hit a button next to her register. Hands grabbed Jason from behind as he was forced out of the coffee shop. Hurry, a gruff voice said, and pushed him toward the alley. What the hell's going on? Jason demanded. Are you out of your mind, brother? Just run, you'll end up in the PC. His voice growled as he pushed Jason roughly from behind. Once out of sight and down an alley, the hands pulled him around to face a rough-looking red-haired man in a black hoodie. Hank? Jason asked, bewildered as to why his best friend was even in town. God damn it, Jason, his friend raged. You were supposed to be the undercover one. You were supposed to keep a low profile. The man paced back and forth, anger and fear evident in his face. That counterfeit social score cost us a lot of money, and we got you placed at the state paper. Good people died to get it so that you could stay under the radar. Where? He stopped and got into Jason's face. We could use your fucking help to save people. I don't understand, Jason pleaded. What don't you understand? His friend demanded. We've got to get you out. We've got to get you down to Israel. Wait, what is going on? Jason demanded, the volume of his voice going up. Last time I looked, we were in the United States of America, and we didn't have an authoritarian government. He paused. Well, most of the time. Hank just stared at him dumbfounded. Did you lose the last decade, brother? He asked. What? Jason asked, again his frustration clear. Man, Hank shook his head. After the pandemic, he paused, thinking. Well, a lot of laws were changed. A lot of social justice laws were enacted, and then President Clinton evoked Directive 51. Jason shook his head. What the hell are you talking about, President Clinton? Jason grabbed his friend by the front of his shirt. What are you saying? Yeah, President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, you know, the founder of the American Communist Party, the ACP. The adopted mother of the current head of the party and leader of the People's Republic of America. You know, Cortez, AOC, the head of the ACP. They chanted every day, like a ritual in the morning. He glowered at Jason. She evoked or invoked or whatever the fuck this old directive. It was for emergency use. I don't even remember who put it in place, but it allowed her to rewrite the Constitution, and they turned this into a communist state. The People's Republic of America, for God's sake. You know all this, Hank explained. You've been an informant for the resistance since the beginning, Jason. Jason, his back against the brick wall of the abandoned building, slid down and sat. Damn, he muttered. You have a nervous breakdown or something? Hank asked. I don't get this. Last thing I remember, buddy, I was at CERN, Jason whispered. The possibility, it was a joke, a conspiracy theory, that the CERN super collider caused a dimensional shift into an alternate universe where Trump won. Donald Trump? Hank asked, dumbfounded. Jason was numb, so he only nodded. Yeah, Donald Trump, the leader of the resistance, was the president? Where have you been? What are you? Have you been smoking some weird stuff? He's been running everything from Israel, which is where we need to get you. Why run? Jason asked. Do you want to end up in the PC? Hank demanded. Someone was coming down the alley, checking doors. Here, Hank said, grabbing some rat-ridden blankets and covering the both of them. Hunker down and act like you have the shakes. Like withdrawal, he told Jason. Jason, still in shock, hunkered down and little trouble shivering. It was cold. Was there a way back to his own world? Or was this temporary? The sound of booted footsteps approached. Anything, Enforcer 51? A tiny voice came out of a radio. Looks like a couple of addicts, sir, the gruff voice reported. Then leave them be, the tinny voice came back. We're looking for state journalist Jason Andrews. Described as a cisgendered white male with what seems to be an artificially inflated social credit score. We need to take him in for questioning. Yes, Directorate. I will continue on. What's the PC? Jason whispered once the men were gone. The little conversation he had overheard terrifying him. Well, you know, Texas, the penal colony. They took the last bastion of the old republic and made it a work prison. The entire fucking state. And you damn sure don't want to end up there. You got a gun? Jason asked. Yeah, I'll get you one. But the reality is, Jason, that if you get caught with it, it's instant death. Jason just nodded, figuring such an authority in place would have a rule or several rules in place about self-defense. You can't extract anything from an armed populace. I've got a boat hole close, Hank whispered. Once things settle down, I'll get you outfitted and fed and hidden until we can figure out an extraction plan. I'm a spy then, Jason asked. Well, you were a spy, Jason admitted. Let's go, Jason said, getting up, and he followed his friend through the abandoned rundown building until they ended up somewhere a few blocks away in an old, underground, forgotten basement. They flitted building to building trash can to dumpster until they made it to the basement. "Here," Hank said, tossing a tactical pack to the former reporter. Jason began going through the pack looking for what he might need, and a thought came to him. It would be a small thing. This man wasn't really his Hank, not really his friend, and there it was at the bottom of the pack. He pulled the 9mm hand cannon from the holster that was wrapped up in the pack and loaded it with a clip that was on a pouch affixed to the outside of the tactical bag. "I really don't think you'll need that," Hank said, distracted. "At least not yet. They won't bother us here, not until we move you tonight." Jason lifted the weapon and, without even aiming, shot the man who resembled his best friend. "Yeah," Jason said to the corpse after it fell. "I do need a gun." He laid the gun on the ground and waited, and then thought better of it, and, wiping down the handle, placed the gun in his dead friend's hand, wrapped it, and then dropped it to the ground as if the man had tried to kill him. "Help me!" Jason called. "Help me!" He waited, and the ones that called themselves enforcers ended up breaking into the door. "What is going on here, citizen?" I don't know," Jason cried, his hands in the air, blood streaming down his forehead where he hit his head. "This guy took me down here. He was going to kill me," he cried, letting out a very real panic and finding life, what little might be left in such a crazy world. Please just help me," Jason screamed, real panic driving the lie of his new life. All he had to do was pretend the man was an informant, that he was trying to break a big story about insurgents or rebels. They would believe that, surely. After a few long moments, the enforcer found the entrance to the old basement. "On the ground, citizen," the body-armored ACP police officer growled, an M16 pointed at Jason's torso. Calmly, Jason lay on the ground, allowing himself to be handcuffed and roughed up. "We are detaining you, citizen," the enforcer informed him, "for possible conspiracy charges." Jason sighed and said, "I understand," he said. "I offer no resistance. This is all completely explainable." "You will tell that to your magistrate," the enforcer said. "If you resist, I will shoot you. You must prove your innocence yourself." "Prove my..." Jason thought, even as he sighed. "I guess here it is. I guess it's now guilty until proven innocent, I suppose." That was when the world went dark again. He felt himself falling. The handcuffs disappearing from the back of his wrists. "What the fuck is going on?" he asked, his eyes wild. And then he woke up. Woke up in his room, covered in what looked like dark gray dust. He walked through to his bedroom door and found, well, nothing. When he opened it, the rest of his home was gone, and the landscape beyond was an ash-covered and destroyed land of rock and torn and twisted metal. And then he heard the growl. He turned slowly, his hands ready. The monster that leapt upon Jason was huge, as large as a buffalo or small elephant. But it was a crazy winged being, some enormous black goose-looking creature with a red stripe around its neck, the fangs of a snake, and the front legs of a cat. Was it a demon? Its wingtips dripped red, bright blood. He never found out just what the thing was. It took him moments before both his head to be ripped cleanly from the neck and for that head to be swallowed down the enormous being's throat. And There are many paths one may take, and some lead down dark worlds. Sometimes we see these worlds in the dark, in the night. We now release this channel back. Nox, Vinny, fear the night.